Hey Yasha, how's it going? I hope I'm saying that correctly, Yasha. Good to see you virtually here through the video chatting. Um, I thought I'd take a look at your shot and see if I can give you any, my perspective on it. It looks like you're moving on to the next shot, which is cool. Your shot looks really good with the skateboarder. I think what I would want to say first off is that I think that you chose a really what I would consider to be a really difficult shot. If I was going to attempt this shot myself, now I don't know that much about skateboarding, but if I was going to do this shot myself, I know I would probably find it very challenging. Not to say that my level is so incredible that whatever, but I think regardless, anybody would find this to be a challenging shot. And I think you did very well, considering how challenging the shot is. So looking at the shot, I think there's a few areas that, there's just some little stuff here and there that you can maybe work on. Some of the angles of the body, like you definitely have all the body mechanics there. But I feel like you might want to utilize the line of action in the body a little bit more. Right now, it looks like you're using a lot of the upper controls, the upper chest to do a lot of your bending. And I would you kind of want to spread it out a little bit so you get more of a, if this was the whole trunk of the character, you want to get nice curves with that trunk. You don't want to just be bending one part of it like this. So in this particular area here, it looks like there's a lot of bend in this area, and then this area is kind of straight, whereas you might want to have more of a curve. And again, this is kind of hard because he's on this skateboard, you know. And I think I'm wondering if his eyes were forward, if that would help, rather than looking down. So he's like looking where he's going. I think that might help for some reason. I can't really justify why. Also, here, this is kind of a weird silhouette. Um, and again, I think it might be, you're going down on the root, which is good. Um, but I think because the root right now is straight up and down, and then the body has this massive curve in it, maybe it would help if what what I do a lot with the root, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but sometimes it helps me get a good curve, is if I'm going to have the character bend forward, sometimes I bend the root backwards. And then I could do a spine curve like this, right? That may not help at all. You might want to bend the root forward. That might make more sense. And then the foot can go down, and then the body can be like this, or you could also have something like this going on in the body. You know. Um, I think leaning him forward a bit more would help, and I think you're trying to do that with the back, but don't be afraid to bend the root or to rotate the root. Because right now it just looks like the root is just in its, it's not rotated at all. It's just up. You're just moving it on its axis. But don't be afraid to grab the handles and rotate it to get your shape. There's something with the foot, the back foot, the way it comes See how it kind of goes up and over to come back? It goes up, and it's got some weird twist in there right there, and then comes back up and over. And I'm wondering, and this is just, I don't know if this would work or not, but I'm wondering if he kind of, if you plot the arc of that, his foot is, you know, along the ground like this, and then he's kind of coming up and over like that. And I'm wondering if it would help to kind of bring the foot back up sort of the way he came back. So instead of the arc going up and over back to the board, he's kind of bringing the foot back up. So right now, the foot, if this is the kick, right? This is him with his foot on the ground, and then his foot is back at the end of the kick. Then he can kind of, oh, that's a bad drawing. Trying to figure out what I want to say here. Something like that. And then, it's kind of going in perspective with the foot kind of rotating behind the leg. And then you can bring it back up to sit on the board. So the arc, if you sort of plotted the arc of the foot, it's coming back up. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Right now, it's like the foot is kicking, and then it's back, and then you kind of bring it up, and then over, so the arc is kind of coming up and over to come back down onto the board. Does that make sense? I think gliding it back up like this might be more effective than this kind of big bring the foot back over and back on the board thing. But that's just my thought on that. I don't know if that's correct or not. Also, there's something about this turn here. And again, I think it seems like it's a lot of upper body movement. There's a lot of twisting and rotating in the upper body, I think. What you might want to work on a little bit more is getting the whole body to do that turn. So he comes up and he's kind of, leaning forward like this. You could do two things. You could have him go, if you were looking at his head could go up and over, and no, this is probably not making any sense. He's like this. You could have him straighten up and then come down into a lean on this side. Or you could have him, leaning forward, and then you could have him kind of scrunch down even more. God, these drawings are awful. Sorry about that. And then have him come over. This is like the key one, and it really doesn't make any sense. Perhaps if I act it out for you. So this is kind of what I mean. If he's going to come into that, he's come up onto his thing on his board, and he's going to get ready to scrouch. Or crouch down, scrunch. That's me trying to say scrunch and crouch, but it's coming out of scrouch. So he's up like this, and then kind of, I think what I would do is I would kind of, if you're looking from that side, my head would kind of come down and back, like, so that's the curve, like, right? Or you can go, I think I would tend to go like that. So from that perspective, you're up like this, you kind of want to scrouch the body down, and then you can kind of rotate it over here. So he's kind of crouching and rotating at the same time. And so the head arc would be here. So it would be like this is his head in this pose here at 26. You can kind of scrunch him down a little bit more here. God, these. Oh, let me try something here. All right, head, body, and head and body. Then you can rotate that. This way, and then you can kind of come up in that pose. Does that make sense? I like to say that because no one can answer me. Does that make sense? Good. But that will, because right now it's kind of just sort of a twist. And then he goes down. I would suggest incorporate the going down and the twist. And then that might give you more time to do my next suggestion, which is really, and again, I'm not a skateboarder, so I don't know what this trick sort of entails, but I think that anytime I've tried this on a skateboard and have been terribly unsuccessful, I feel like I kind of lean forward first before I come back to jerk the front of the skateboard up. So I think if you were scrunched down here, you can kind of, what would this look like? With them kind of leaning, I don't know about that. What would this look like? This is probably more effective. So how does this differ from what you have now? I think if the spine was straighter, or at least you had a curve, but he was didn't have this lean back, where his spine was curved, but he was more upright. Maybe his arms are out more. Then, so if he was in this pose like this, if he's scrunched down, right? Right now he looks like he's scrunched down and sort of leaning back. If he was scrunched down like this, right? This is his profile, right? He's kind of, God, this looks awful. Okay, so I'm scrunched down. I'm in my skateboarding pose, right? Now, this is what it looks like from the front view, going towards the bench or whatever he is going through, and this is the profile view, right? So if he's in that and he's kind of straight up and down, right, and he's kind of like, here I go. Now when he gets ready to jump, you can maybe kind of take the root and bend it forward, right? And you can scrunch him up just a little bit more just to anticipate, and then you can pop back. You can, so if you look at the root, right, it's bend forward, then you can maybe kind of go down and then, you know? Sorry for that pelvis shot there. But hopefully you get my point. Here he might be sort of leaning forward. And then he can start to come back. And then he can kind of lean forward. Oops. Into this pose. Sorry about my drawings, they're really bad today. I'm not sure about this stretch here. I'm not sure what is bothering me about the jump. I think again it's the body. It's like the weight. I'd probably have to look at some reference to give better notes as far as the poses here. And this looks very complex. I don't know how that would be in live action. Good job with, like, it looks like he's trying to keep his balance. Again, here though, as he's going down to come off, I would get him more bent. You know, bring him down even more. And if he's leaning that far back here, when he launches up, wouldn't he be kind of coming forward? Like that. Then when he lands over here, he might be I think you're okay with this pose. I think I might turn him more so he's not so forward. You know, have him more in three-quarter view. And then when he lands, even though he's moving, I think that there would still be some root movement forward. So like sort of like this pose here, but with the whole body shifted forward. You know, so like he might be actually, again, I would put him in three-quarter kind of like this, and then his landing might be, you know, back into this pose. But then he would shift forward a little bit. And then maybe come straighten out. This. So see how he would come down sort of three-quarter, land in that squashy three-quarter. He might kind of, this is probably an exaggeration of him being too forward on his weight, but then he would kind of come up and then settle back. So if we looked at let's just pretend like here's the root arc. So if we were plotting the root, it would come, oh, let me just draw it. It would come down. Right, here's him up in the air up here. Here's him sort of maybe landing on the skateboard. Then maybe he is, this pose here would be him sort of jolted forward on his weight. And then the root's going to come up again. He's going to be a little more forward on his weight. But he's coming up. His root is coming back up again. And then he's going to settle back in the final pose. Hopefully this is making sense. I'm not sure if I'm conveying it properly. But this would be sort of, this pose here is probably this one right here. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's number 1, that's number 2, that's number 3, that's number 4, and that's number 5. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And I think here with his extra limbs, it looks like you might have ghosted him a little bit. I won't get into that. Okay? But again, I think the shot looks really good. And I think it's really tough. If I was going to do it, I would have a hell of a time trying to get that to look right. And I think you did a very good job getting it to look pretty good. So again, this is just my thoughts. You can take them or leave them. But I hope they help in some way. And I hope you're doing good. I hope you're having a good Easter if, you know, that's your thing. But yeah, so take care. And I hope that you have a lot of fun going forward in your next shot. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. All right, take care, man. Keep going, man. You're doing a great job.